Chapter 176, Handsome Man is Trouble. Zyro Fang was surprised and happy when she saw the plump berries. Because the slopes are steep and there are many wild animals in the mountains, villagers rarely go up the mountains. Therefore, they rarely have access to fresh fruit unless they grow some at home. "Thank you, Sister Chen." Zyro Fang ate a berry and said sweetly. Chen Anwen looked at her and lowered her head to hide her emotions. Zyro Fang is only 16 years old, but she is already pregnant. Although the country leaders tell them they must be 18 years old or older to get married, the villagers still keep their traditions. When their daughter had her first menstruation, they started looking for a husband for their daughter. If they reach the age of 20 and are not married or engaged, they will be called spinsters. This also includes her family, as she married Lu Han at the age of 16 and got pregnant at the age of 17. Now her eldest son is 4 years old and she is only 23 years old. Although she did not regret marrying her husband, giving birth to her son at a young age did take a toll on her body. What's more, due to the bad situation at that time, they can only give her some eggs occasionally, resulting in insufficient supplementation for her after delivery. After she gave birth to her second son, the doctor said she would need to recuperate for several years before she could have another child. Otherwise, she may have difficulty giving birth due to health reasons. Thinking of Lu Juyu, Chen Anwen wondered if she had gotten pregnant. It would be better if she and her husband could wait at least another year or two to have children. Otherwise, given her constitution, she might suffer more illness if she gave birth at a young age compared to her. Seeing her sister-in-law was deep in thought, Wang Muxiao came closer and asked curiously, "Sister-in-law, what are you thinking about?" After coming back to her senses, Chen Anwen looked at Wang Muxiao and smiled. "I was wondering what to make for dinner. Father and mother should be back soon." Hearing her words, Wang Muxiao swallowed her saliva and said, "Sister-in-law, how about we make egg noodles for dinner? You have made some noodles before. If we don't eat it, it will go bad when the weather gets warmer." Chen Anwen thought for a while and said, "Okay." There are 5 old hens at home, and they can lay 3 to 5 eggs every day, so they never run out of eggs and can now even sell some to state supply stores. Chen Anwen was confused at first as to how they could get so many eggs from 5 hens every day, but after a while the old hen only laid 1 egg every day. Sometimes, it doesn't even lay eggs, therefore she didn't think too much about it. When the neighbors heard what they said, their eyes turned green with envy. Who in this village can eat eggs every day like the Lu family? Watching the sky gradually darken, everyone packed up their things and left the Lu family. Although they didn't hear any gossip, they left with smiles as they enjoyed the good tea. At the same time, Pan Magia was looking at the beautiful woman who was blocking her way. She recognized her as the woman who had been at the hospital that day. She didn't expect she would be blocking her way so suddenly. Sheng Xirohong looked at Pan Magia from head to toe, with a hint of disdain in her eyes. She didn't understand why Ling Yun treated this girl who looked so ordinary so well. She was nothing compared to her beauty. At best she can be called a cute girl. Pan Magia looked at this woman's eyes and saw her hatred for her. At first she didn't know why this woman was so hostile to her, but when she thought of this woman's concern for Ling Yun in the hospital that day, a light bulb lit up in her mind. This woman may be jealous and therefore hate her. Ling Yun was friends with her and she didn't want to cause him any trouble. Pan Magia smiled and asked, "Hello, comrade. Why are you blocking my way? Do you need anything?" After hearing her words, Sheng Xirohong saw her smile and sneered. "A little girl dares to steal my man. Do you overestimate yourself or underestimate me?" Pan Magia was taken aback by her words. This kind of words couldn't be said recklessly as it would affect her reputation. She took a deep breath as she tried to maintain her smile and asked, "Comrade, we don't know each other. Why do you slander me like this?" "It's true that we don't know each other, but you are seducing my man. Why can't I tell the truth?" Sheng Xirohong pointed at Pan Magia's nose and said angrily. The smile on Pan Magia's face disappeared instantly and she said, "Comrade, you can eat recklessly, but you can't say whatever you want. When did I seduce your man? Do you have any evidence? If you talk without any evidence, it's defamation. I can report this to officers." "You bitch, you are so eloquent. No wonder my man was deceived by you. Everyone in the surrounding production teams knows that Ling Yun is my man. How dare you act so chummy with him in public? Are you tired of living?" Sheng Xirohong asked threateningly. Pan Magia frowned at her rude behavior and vulgar language. She had a good impression of Ling Yun, so she didn't expect him to like this kind of woman. At this moment, she regretted listening to Zyro Li's words and picked up Ling Yun from the hospital. After sending him to the hospital, she should not have any contact with him again. This woman's reverse scale is none other than Ling Yun. Her mother always told her that handsome men were trouble. Now, she finally believed her mother's words. It is indeed not a lie that even heroes have a weakness for the charms of a beautiful woman, just because she sent him back from the hospital led to the current situation. Panmagia took a deep breath, exhaled it slowly, then looked at Sheng Xiaohong and said, "Comrade, I don't have any design for your man. I only helped him because he was about to die. After I sent him back from the hospital, I never looked for him again." "Your man even owes me money," Panmagia added inside her heart. "Do you think I'm a fool and will believe your excuses? You're just trying to pique his interest so he will fall in love with you. You bitch, you must be itchy when you see a handsome guy." Panmagia was irritated by her words and asked coldly, "Comrade, watch your words. Who do you call a bitch?" Before Sheng Xiaohong could speak, Panmagia interrupted her. "I admit that Ling Yun is handsome. However, he is not the only handsome man alive. I have a good family, I am an educated youth, and I have a town's household registration. There are many men willing to marry me, so there's no reason for me to get involved with a married man." Seeing Sheng Xiaohong's face turning red with anger, Panmagia felt better and added, "Comrade, don't be too angry. Otherwise, within a year, your face will be covered with wrinkles. I won't go bother your man, so please don't stand in my way and waste my time. Thank you." After saying that, Panmagia walked around Sheng Xiaohong and left without looking back. After walking a few meters, she saw Xiao Li standing by the tree looking at her thoughtfully. Seeing Xiao Li at this moment only made her feel a little annoyed, so she ignored him and continued to leave. When Xiao Li looked at Sheng Xiaohong, he saw the hatred and jealousy in her eyes. He always told Ling Yun to keep a distance from Sheng Xiaohong's daughter, because this would only make everyone believe the rumors spread by Sheng Xiaohong about their relationship, but his words fell on deaf ears. He knew that Xiaohua was mistreated by Sheng Xiaohong, and she was pitiful, but since Ling Yun did not intend to have anything to do with her mother, he should not interfere too much. Now, everyone believes that Ling Yun and Sheng Xiaohong are lovers. Even Panmagia believed this rumor. Thinking of Ling Yun's joy when he talked about Panmagia, Xiao Li felt that this misunderstanding might make Ling Yun's situation unfavorable. As an excellent wingman, he quickly went to Panmagia to explain the situation clearly. When he caught up with her, Xiao Li was surprised to see her chatting with another educated youth. This educated youth was none other than Comrade Han, who lent them the bicycle. She looked delighted as she laughed at his words. The man also looked at her tenderly, with a smile on his face. Xiao Li stood rooted in his place, motionless. He scratched his head and looked at them for a moment. In the end, he didn't disturb them and goes to find Ling Yun instead. When Xiao Li arrived at Ling Yun's house, it was already dark. Ling Yun was getting ready to sleep when he heard a knock on the door. He went to open the door and was surprised to see that his friend had come to visit him so late. "Xiao Li, why are you here at this time?" he asked while letting him in. Xiao Li sat on his seat, looked at him and said, "Brother, did you know that Sheng Xiaohong went to see Comrade Pan?" Hearing his words, Ling Yun frowned. He didn't know what Sheng Xiaohong's purpose was in finding Panmagia. However, it's probably not a good thing. Xiao Li knew from his expression that he didn't know anything about it. He let out a long sigh and said, "Brother, I know you promised Xiaohua's father that you would protect his daughter, but if your kindness brings you trouble, you can't continue to help her. Do you know what the villagers say about you? They say that you had an affair with Sheng Xiaohong when her husband was still alive. Because of this, no one is willing to marry their daughter to you," he added. "I know," Ling Yun said calmly. "Since you know, then stop meddling in their affairs. Xiaohua is Sheng Xiaohong's biological daughter. Even if she is beaten to death by her, it has nothing to do with you. Because she knows that you care about her daughter, she always beats her. In this way, you will care about that girl. If that little girl relies too much on you and affects your future, what will you do?" Xiao Li asked. "Xiaohua won't," Ling Yun shook his head. "You can't be sure, she is only 5 years old. She will long for a father figure in her life. What if she insists on you being her father? Are you willing to marry Sheng Xiaohong for her?" Xiao Li asked again. Seeing that Ling Yun was silent, Xiao Li added, "Let's put it another way. If Comrade Pan believes that Sheng Xiaohong is your woman and therefore keeps distance from you, what will you do?" After hearing his words, Ling Yun's eyes flickered for a moment and asked, "What did Sheng Xiaohong say to Panmagia?" Xiao Li's eyes flashed with understanding, but he had already guessed his brother's feelings toward Panmagia and said, "She told Comrade Pan not to disturb you anymore because you are her man. She also called Comrade Pan a bitch who is looking for death." After hearing Xiao Li's words, Ling Yun frowned and fell into deep thought. It seems he can't stay here any longer. After a long time he finally said, "Xiao Li, I know what to do. thank you for telling me this. Zyro Li breathed a sigh of relief. Since Ling Yun has said so, it means that he has made a decision. Now that everything that needs to be said has been said, Zyro Li stood up and said, "Brother, I'll take my leave now." "All right." After sending Zyro Li away, Ling Yun found Sheng Zyrohong watching him from her home. He ignored her, locked the door, and went to sleep. Tomorrow, he will go find the team leader and move out of this village. Early the next morning, Lu Jiu woke up at dawn and went to see the old hen. After she filled the feeder and water, she went to the pig pen. Before she even entered the pig pen, she could already smell the smell of pig manure. She pinched her nose and entered the pigsty. Although Li Chenmo cleaned the pig pen every day, the pig manure was so smelly that she almost vomited. She hurriedly walked outside again, took a few deep breaths, and then held her breath before she entered the pig pen again. She quickly took out the pig feed she prepared yesterday and filled the feeder. When she was done, she ran outside. She didn't take a breath until she was 10 meters away from the pig pen. She felt like she was about to die from the smell. In her previous life, when she inspected pig farms, she had never entered a pig pen. The pig farmer would bring the pigs over for her to check, so she never knew the smell of pig manure was so bad. At this moment, her respect for her husband and the villagers increased several-fold. They were able to shovel pig manure up without even changing their expressions, as if there was no smell at all. They even regard pig manure as a treasure, and are very careful when transporting it away. She looked at the pig pen with complicated eyes. No wonder her husband said raising pigs is very hard. Not only does the job require a lot of strength, it also tests their ability to ignore smells. Pig manure is basically a bioweapon for her nose. Lu Jiu returned to her home dejectedly. At first, she thought she could help her husband clean the pig pen, but she seemed to overestimate herself. When she walked into the backyard, she saw her husband coming out of the bathroom. When he saw her coming back from the pigsty, he walked over, leaned over and kissed her lips, saying, "Good morning, wife. Did you go to feed the pigs?" Lu Jiu nodded and said, "Good morning, husband." Li Chenmo saw her depressed mood and asked, "What's wrong?" "Husband, the pig pen is too smelly," she lowered her head and said with a sigh. Li Chenmo was amused by her words and chuckled lightly. He rubbed her head and said, "Well, it does stink. If you find it unbearable, don't go there again. I'll feed the piglets." Lu Jiu thought for a while and asked, "If I don't help, wouldn't you be too tired?" "I just need to pour the feed into the feeder. It's not tiring," he said with a smile. "Okay then," Lu Jiu didn't act tough and nodded. "Since I can't help you take care of the pigs, then leave the vegetable garden to me," she added. Knowing that his wife could be stubborn sometimes, Li Chenmo nodded and said, "Then, I'll leave it to you, but if the work is too much for you, you must tell me." After reaching an agreement, Lu Jiu went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, while Li Chenmo went to check the front and backyard plots. He just needs to fertilize the soil again, and the land is ready for planting. The average pig can produce 11 pounds of manure per day. The amount of manure will increase or decrease depending on how much the pig eats each day and its size. The vegetable planting area is about 350 square meters. The manure of piglets is enough to fertilize the soil. Li Chenmo went to the pig pen to clean the pen and move the manure into the pit he dug earlier. The pits were dug close to the mountains, away from water sources and the pig pen. Although it is far away, storing pig manure here is his best choice. If not handled properly, pig manure can cause damage to the environment, especially water sources. By digging the pit deeper, pig manure will not flow into the river during the rainy season and pollute the clean water. It can even be absorbed by the soil on the mountain to fertilize bamboo and trees and promote the growth of mushrooms. He cleans the pig pen twice every morning and evening. He also disinfects the pen once a month with liquid soap made by his wife. While Li Chenmo was shoveling pig manure, Lu Jiu lit a fire and steamed some steamed buns. She cooked a pot of vegetable porridge in a brazier. After the steamed buns were ready, she heated up the soy milk. Today is the Lantern Festival, and they are going to Father Li's house for dinner. This time they will not cook at Father Li's house but will bring some dishes over, so they don't need to leave too early. Zhang Dongmei had just made sauerkraut, and Lu Jiu guessed that Li Chen's and his family might send some stir-fry sauerkraut and some braised pork. As for Li Chengxun and his wife, as long as they don't cause any trouble, it's already good. Therefore, she didn't expect them to bring anything over for dinner. Since there are vegetables and meat dishes, she plans to make herbal chicken soup, steamed fish, dan dan noodles, and glutinous rice balls. Dan dan noodles are a classic Chinese noodle dish that has a spicy, salty, and nutty flavor thanks to the addition of chili oil, minced beef or pork, and chopped nuts. While waiting for her husband to come back, Lu Jiu prepared the noodles, hot sauce, and ingredients for the Dan Dan noodles. After it was done, she made glutinous rice balls. Later, she only had to cook it and they could eat it as a dessert. As for herbal chicken soup and steamed fish, the ingredients are already prepared in the space. She only needs to go to her own space to cook it later. As soon as the fillings for the glutinous rice balls were wrapped, Li Chenmo came back. Li Chenmo was afraid that the smell of pig manure would make his wife uncomfortable, so he went directly to the bathroom to take a shower. When Lu Jiu heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom, she quickly brought the hot water over. "Husband, don't use cold water. I've prepared hot water for you. I put it on the door," Lu Jiu said, putting a pot of hot water on the door. After saying that, she walked quickly to the kitchen. Her cheeks flushed when she heard the bathroom's door was pushed open, and her husband's abs came to her mind. Li Chenmo looked at her back in confusion. He had just washed his hands and was still wearing his clothes. Why did his wife run away like a startled rabbit? "Does it smell that bad?" he muttered to himself and went to take a shower. After Li Chenmo finished taking a bath and went to the bedroom, Lu Jiu was already waiting for him on the Kang bed. Seeing the food still steaming, a smile appeared on his face. He climbed onto the Kang bed and sat next to his wife. Seeing that his hair was still wet, Lu Jiu took the towel from her husband's hand and helped him dry his hair. At the same time, she said, "Husband, dry your hair well, otherwise you will catch a cold." Li Chenmo lowered his head and let his wife wipe his hair. It's not that he doesn't want to dry his hair well, but he likes his wife to care about him. So he would intentionally let his hair half dry and then let his wife help him wipe his hair. MHMM, Li Chenmo let out a soft hum in response to her words. After Li Chenmo's hair was mostly dry, they started eating. Drinking the hot soy milk, Li Chenmo said, "Wife, I'm going out for a while. The team leader asked us to clean up the canal. I'll be back around 4 o'clock in the evening." "Okay, I'll bring your lunch over later," Lu Jiu nodded. After breakfast, Lu Jiu went to the kitchen, filled a thermos with warm water, and wrapped some scallion pancakes in oil paper. After washing the dishes, Li Chenmo came to the kitchen and saw his wife was packing the scallion pancakes. He walked over, hugged her from behind, and asked, "Wife, won't you bring me lunch later?" Lu Jiu was used to his clinginess and let him hold her while saying, "I will send your lunch later." "Then why did you pack these pancakes? Did you want to give them to others?" he asked, raising his eyebrows. "This is for you, our parents and our brothers. Cleaning the canal sounds easy, but it is actually very tiring. You need to dig the canal deeper and wider so that future irrigation will be better. But because the ice has not melted, the ground is still hard. Therefore, you need to use a lot of strength when working. I was afraid that you would be hungry, so I prepared these as snacks," Lu Jiu said with a smile. Li Chenmo was very pleased with his wife's care. He held her waist tightly, kissed her earlobe, and said, "Thank you, wife." Lu Jiu felt itchy from the kiss, so she nudged him with her elbow and said, "Stop messing around." When Li Chenmo saw his wife's shy look, he felt as if his heart was being scratched by a cat. Unfortunately, he needs to leave now or he will be late. After kissing his wife, he carried a small bamboo basket and left the house in a good mood. When he arrived at the village hall, the sun had just risen and there were not many people there. He looked around and found Han Yuluo looking at him with unfriendly eyes. Li Chenmo just glanced at him, then withdrew his gaze and looked at the sunrise. When Han Yuluo saw Li Chenmo ignoring him, he had the urge to go over and beat him. When he saw the bamboo basket in his hand, his heart was filled with jealousy. He knew what was in the bamboo basket without looking because he had also been in Li Chenmo's position before, being the one who accepts her carefully prepared food and enjoys her tender care. Just when Han Yuluo was looking at Li Chenmo with envy, Father Lu, Lu Han, and Lu Cheng also arrived. Li Chenmo saw them coming and greeted them with a smile. "Father, brothers." "Brother-in-law, what did you bring?" Lu Cheng asked, pointing to the bamboo basket. Li Chenmo smiled, opened the bamboo basket's lid, and said, "Father, brothers, have you had breakfast? Jiu prepared some scallion pancakes as snacks and warm water for us." Smelling the aroma of scallion pancakes, Lu Cheng swallowed his saliva and wanted to try it. But before he could reach out his hand, Father Lu said, "We already had breakfast before we came here. Let's save it for later." After hearing his father's words, Lu Cheng retracted his hand and sighed. He had to wait for hours before he could eat the pancakes. What a waste, pancakes should be eaten while it's hot. Not long after, villagers came one after another. Since today's job is to clear the canal and repair some damaged areas, only men are needed. The women don't start work until tomorrow. 10 minutes later, Han Yuheng came with the educated youths following behind him. Seeing that everyone was here, he said, "Everyone, please line up to draw lots. The person who draws number 1 will start from the west area. Number 2 will start from the south area. Number 3 will start from the north area. And number 4 will start from the east area. There will be 20 people in each group." No one had any objections and started to draw a lot. When it was Lee Chenmo's turn, everyone was curious about which group he would join. At this time, Han Yuluo was in the first group and Du Jiawen was in the fourth group. Although no one said it clearly, everyone knew that both Han Yuluo and Du Jiawen had a close relationship with Lu Jiyu before she married Lee Chenmo. They were waiting to see a play. Unfortunately, when Lee Chenmo opened the piece of paper in his hand, they saw a number 2 was written on it. When Lee Chenmo walked towards his team, he found that his team was full of teenagers and men over 40 years old. Although their physical strength is still enough for them to do heavy work, their work efficiency is not as good as that of men in their 20s and 30s. It seems that he needs to work harder today to finish the work on time. After everyone drew lots, they went to get some tools and went to their assigned areas. Lee Chenmo took out the scallion pancakes from the bamboo basket and divided it, leaving only 2 pancakes and water for himself. After that, he walked up to Lu Cheng. He handed the pancake over and said, "Second brother, take this. You can share it with your father and brother later." Lu Cheng took the pancake and his eyes lit up. "Thank you, brother-in-law." "No problem." After Lee Chenmo said those words, he went to find Father Lee and Lee Chen's. He gave them a share of the scallion pancake. At the same time, in the nearby production team, Ling Yun was talking to his team leader. "Ling Yun, can you reconsider your decision? Even if you can be transferred to another production team, it will be difficult for you to integrate into them. Otherwise, how about I find you a house farther away from where you live now?" the team leader asked, trying to convince him to stay. Ling Yun is one of the main workforces in his team. If he moves out of the village, it will affect their work progress because he will also be transferred to another team. At this moment, his disgust for Sheng Xiaohong doubled. If it weren't for her plastering Ling Yun and spreading those rumors, Ling Yun wouldn't have decided to move out of their village. "Team leader, I have made my decision. I am sorry for informing you so suddenly. I hope you can agree to my request," Ling Yun said firmly. Seeing that he could not persuade Ling Yun to stay, the team leader sighed and said, "Since you insist on your decision, I can only agree to your request. Have you decided which team you want to transfer to?" "Yes, I want to join the 12th production team," Ling Yun nodded. The team leader was surprised when he heard his words. Among the whole brigade, the 12th production team is always ranked last because their grain output is barely enough to cover the amount they need to send back to the capital. What's more, their annual meat production is always the lowest. By joining them, Ling Yun will receive less food on distribution days, although his workload will be the same as before or even more. "Are you sure? If you want to transfer, it's best to join the 7th team. They are always ranked first, so joining them will let you get more food," the team leader said. "I want to join the 12th team." Ling Yun's decision was firm. His food comes mostly from hunting or the black market. He had money and could buy grain or meat from the black market if he wanted to. Therefore, he didn't care too much about the food given by the production team. The team leader thought for a while and said, "Okay, I will give you a recommendation letter. Just give it to Han Yuheng later. He is the team leader of Team 12. "Thank you, team leader," Ling Yun said. The team leader patted his shoulder and sighed. "Thank you for your hard work all these years. You have done enough for your deceased friend. You should pay more attention to yourself now." Hearing his words, Ling Yun nodded. After getting the recommendation letter, he went home and packed his belongings. Since he lives alone, he doesn't own many items. He borrowed an ox cart from the production team and moved everything in one go. Since it was still early, no one noticed that he had moved out of the house. When Sheng Xiaohong noticed, he had already settled in Zai village. Although the distance between villages is not far, they are not close either. They needed to walk for nearly 2 hours. With ox cart, it was almost an hour later before Ling Yun finally entered Zai village. When the villagers saw him and his belongings, they were surprised and curious. But because of his indifferent attitude and strong aura, no one dared to approach him or ask anything. Ling Yun had been to Zai village before, so he already knew where the team leader's office was. He parked the ox cart at the door of the office and walked into the office. When he was inside, he saw a young man sitting behind the desk, recording data on a book. Judging from his clothes, this man must be an educated youth. "Hello, comrade, please have a seat." The educated youth saw Ling Yun and said with a smile, motioning for him to sit down. After Ling Yun nodded to him and sat down, the educated youth asked, "Is there anything I can do for you?" Ling Yun took out the recommendation letter and said, This is the recommendation letter from the leader of the 5th production team. I am here to report to the team leader of the 12th production team. The educated youth was surprised when he heard what he said. It is rare for villagers to be willing to relocate. What's more, their production team always comes last, so no one wants to join them. After reading the letter, he looked at Ling Yun and asked, "Why do you want to join our production team?" "Personal reasons." Ling Yun didn't want to explain, so he just answered perfunctorily. The educated youth looked at him and thought he looked familiar, but couldn't remember where he had seen him. Since he has brought a letter of recommendation, the educated youth can only handle the transfer and said, "I have to inform the team leader first. The team leader will allocate a house to you later." "All right, thank you," Ling Yun nodded. Unlike several educated youths who share a house, villagers are assigned a house because their household registration is here, and each house is allocated to one family. Therefore, in terms of housing, the conditions of villagers are better than that of educated youths. Ling Yun was waiting in the office while the educated youth went to find Han Yuheng. Almost an hour later, the educated youth came back with Han Yuheng. As soon as Han Yuheng saw Ling Yun, he was delighted. There are fewer young people in Zai village than in other villages. Therefore, most of their production members are old people, teenagers, or children. That's why they had less labor forces and could not cultivate more land. Although Ling Yun is alone, he is young and looks strong. More importantly, any workforce matters. So Han Yuheng walked over with a smile and said, "Welcome to Team 12. My name is Han Yuheng, and I am the team leader." "Hello, team leader, I'm Ling Yun." After shaking hands, Han Yuheng asked, "Comrade Ling, do you have any preferences for your house?" Ling Yun thought for a moment and said, "I live alone, but I plan to get married in the next 2 years. It would be great if I could be assigned a 2 or 3 bedroom house." Han Yuheng went to see the file and said, "There is a 3-bedroom house, but it is far away from the village and close to the mountain foothills. The building is a bit old and needs some repairs, but there is a river near the backyard, so you don't have to worry about clean water. The yard area is about 300 square meters. If you agree with this location, I will register the house in your name." "Thank you, team leader." Ling Yun is very satisfied with this location. If the house is located at the foot of a mountain, it will be easier for him to go to the mountain in the future. Moreover, since the house is located far away from the village, no one will notice if he leaves in the middle of the night and goes to the black market. Han Yuheng finished processing the documents efficiently and took Ling Yun to his new home. Although the houses and land are owned by the government, they are registered under the villagers' names as long as they live there. If they move out, the house and land will be returned to the government. Riding the ox cart, it didn't take long for them to reach the place where the house was. When Han Yuheng saw the location, he remembered that the house assigned to Ling Yun was not far from Li Chenmo's house. He pointed to the courtyard house on the hill and said, "The house on the hill belongs to Li Chenmo. He is a retired soldier and just got married. You and him will be neighbors from now on." Ling Yun looked at the house and nodded. He knew the house because he was one of the workers hired to repair it. He was even invited to the wedding banquet. He glanced at Han Yuheng and wondered how old he was. His memory doesn't seem to be very good. Han Yuheng seemed to have forgotten that he was the one who hired him to repair the house in the first place. Since he had already forgotten, Ling Yun didn't bother to remind him. After all, he has nothing to do with the team leader. He came here not only to avoid Sheng Xiaohong, but also to repay someone's kindness. When he arrived at the house, Han Yuheng discovered that Ling Yun did not use both arms when moving things. So he couldn't help but ask, "Comrade Ling, why did you only use one arm? Are you injured?" Ling Yun nodded and said, "I was injured when I went to the mountain to pick firewood." Han Yuheng was stunned and asked again, "Did you venture into the mountains?" "No, I only picked at the foot of the mountain and a wild boar attacked me. It seems that even at the foot of the mountain, it is not safe," Ling Yun said calmly. "Then I should remind the villagers to be careful when collecting firewood. It would be great if no one went to the mountains. It is too dangerous. A few years ago, several villagers went to the mountains to catch wild animals, but they were attacked by a tiger instead." Recalling the accident, Han Yuheng said with a hint of fear. "Did they survive the attack?" Ling Yun asked. Of the 7 people, 5 died on the spot and only 2 returned to the village. Both were seriously injured and both died a few days later. From then on, no one dared to go up the mountain. "You'd better not go into the mountains," Han Yuheng said seriously. Ling Yun nodded and said, "I understand. Thank you, team leader, for the reminder." "It's nothing, just don't go to the mountains," Han Yuheng said while helping him move his things into the house. Ling Yun did not continue talking about this topic and moved the items over in silence. He would need to return the ox cart later. Because the house has been uninhabited for a long time, The mud walls are damaged in many places, and the hay on the roof also needs to be replaced. As for the pillars and beams, they are still in good condition. There were a lot of spider webs in the corners of the house, the ground was covered in dirt, and some weeds grew in the gaps. Ling Yun looked around and estimated that it would take some time to repair the house. After moving everything in, Han Yuheng said, "We will start spring plowing at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can borrow tools from the office, but you need to write down your name and the borrowed items. After the work is completed, you need to return the tools." "All right," Ling Yun nodded. He has the tools and doesn't need to borrow them from the production team. "There is no need to gather in the village hall tomorrow. Just meet us at the central area's farmland," Han Yuheng added. "Okay," Ling Yun nodded and sent Han Yuheng to the door. When he was the only one left, Ling Yun put all his things in the house, locked the door, and went to return the ox cart. When he rode out on the ox cart, Lu Jiu found that the nearby empty house had been occupied. She squinted her eyes but couldn't see the other person's face. She only knew that their new neighbor was a man. Now that they have new neighbors, she should visit them and find out about their situation. When she watered the peach tree with water from the space, Lu Jiu found that the flowers of the peach tree had begun to bloom. She was very happy when she saw the flowers. Father Li had told her before that the last time the peach trees bore fruit was the year before the Great Famine. From then on, the peach trees no longer bloomed, let alone bore fruit. It has been 16 years since the Great Famine. The peach trees are finally blooming again, which means the water in her space does have great benefits for both the animals and the crops. With this information, Lu Jiu was confident that she could feed the pig to 300 kilograms. After watering the peach trees, she continues to water the vegetable garden. Not long after, she heard someone knocking on the door. "Third sister-in-law, are you at home?" Hearing that it was Zhang Dongmei's voice, Lu Jiu put down the bucket of water and went to open the door. When she saw the jars on the ground, she was surprised and said, "Eldest sister-in-law, why are you here so early?" "I'm here to bring you some pickles. Zyrokian, Zyroxu, why didn't you say hello to your aunt?" Zhang Dongmei said. "Hello, third aunt," Li Zhenqian and Li Zhengxu said in unison. Lu Jiu patted their heads, picked up one of the jars from the ground, and said with a smile, "Eldest sister-in-law, please come in." After the children entered the house, Zhang Dongmei picked up another jar. After closing the door, Lu Jiu said, "Sister-in-law, thank you for the pickles. You can just ask my husband to pick them up. You don't have to deliver them yourself. It's just a small thing. Your husband is busy at work and I have nothing to do at home, so I just came to visit you with the children. I didn't disturb you, right?" Zhang Dongmei said with a smile. "Eldest sister-in-law, what are you saying? I was supposed to visit you, but you came to my house instead. How could I find you disturbing me?" Lu Jiu said with a sigh. "Your body is weak. It's better to stay at home when the weather is cold. Our family doesn't have so many rules, so you don't have to be nervous about it. As long as we have a good relationship, it doesn't matter who visits whom," Zhang Dongmei said. Lu Jiu took them to the backyard and into the kitchen. When Zhang Dongmei and the children walked into the kitchen, they saw cured meat, sausages, and salted fish hanging on the beams. Putting the jars in the corner of the kitchen, Lu Jiu said, "Eldest sister-in-law, the fish in the river have been fattened. We can go catch some for you to bring back later." After hearing her words, Zhang Dongmei finally understood why the third branch always had fish to eat. She didn't expect there to be fish in the river behind the ancestral house's backyard. Fortunately, their house is far away from the village, so they can fish as much as they like without being reported. Since there were a lot of fish in the river, Zhang Dongmei didn't refuse Lu Jiu's offer and said, "Then I will thank my third sister-in-law in advance." "What's there to thank me for? The fish grow by themselves and feed by nature. I'm just lucky to live here and benefit from it," Lu Jiu said with a chuckle. Zhang Dongmei just smiled and said nothing. Although Lu Jiu's words were right, not many people would think like her when they were in her position. Even she herself couldn't think like Lu Jiu. As a person, she is also greedy and selfish. Sometimes, she could also feel greedy, envious, and jealous. It's only because of her husband's constant reminders to stay humble, kind, and generous that made her who she is today. Not to say anything else, the mere possibility of making money from selling fish on the black market is enough to arouse people's greed. She was sure that if it had been anyone else, they would not have shared it with anyone else and would have kept all the fish for themselves. After putting the jars in the kitchen, Lu Jiu went to the woodshed to get some fish baskets. When she came out with the fish basket, Li Jingqian and Li Jingxu were ecstatic. It is rare for them to catch fish in the river. Under normal circumstances, they would fish with a stick tied to a thin twine and worms as bait. This was their first time fishing using a fishing basket. Lu Jiu handed each of them a fish basket and said, "Let's use crayfish as bait." The children and Zhang Dongmei nodded and followed her. Lu Jiu folded her trousers, took off her shoes and walked towards the river. As she stood by the river, the water was up to her knees, but she could still see the riverbed clearly. She bent down, caught a few crayfish, and then returned to the river. Lu Jiu smashed the crayfish with a stone and put them into the fish basket. After that, she threw the fish basket into the river. When the children saw what she did, they followed her and smashed the crayfish before throwing the fish basket into the river. When they were done, Lu Jiu said, "Now, all we have to do is wait for the fish to enter the fish basket." "Third aunt, should we wait here?" Li Jingsu asked doubtfully. Usually when they fish, they need to wait for the fish to bite the bait before they can pull the fish up. If they weren't here guarding the fish basket, wouldn't the fish just run away after eating the bait? "It's not necessary. Once a fish enters the fish basket, it can't leave," Lu Jiu said with a smile. Zhang Dongmei looked at the children with a smile and said, "While we wait for the fish, let's help your third aunt. Can you help pull out the weeds?" "Mother, we can," Li Jingqian and Li Jingsu nodded and said in unison. "Then go," Zhang Dongmei said, motioning for them to leave. Both Li Jingqian and Li Jingsu were already 8 years old at the time, but they were thin and smaller compared to other children of the same age due to a lack of food. Looking at their small bodies, Lu Jiu felt that this era was really the most difficult to live in. Comparing children of this era with children of modern times, she finally understood why her grandparents liked to scold them for being ungrateful whenever they wasted food. For people in this era, if they can eat a piece of meat, they will be happy all day long. Modern people not only complain about eating meat and getting fat but also waste food. Looking back on her behavior, Lu Jiu felt ashamed of her picky eating habits. Seeing that she was deep in thought, Zhang Dongmei asked, "Third sister-in-law, is there anything I can help you with?" After coming back to her senses, Lu Jiu said, "Eldest sister-in-law, there is only some work left. I only need to water the vegetable garden and feed the piglets." Zhang Dongmei was used to doing heavy and dirty work, so she said, "How about I help you feed the piglets?" Lu Jiu was taken aback by her words and said, "Sister-in-law, the pig pen really stinks. Can you bear the smell?" After hearing her words, Zhang Dongmei smiled and said, "I'm used to it." Not to mention pig manure, even human excrement is used as fertilizer by the villagers. She was used to the smell from a young age. As she expected, the third sister-in-law was not used to this kind of work. It seems that the job of raising pigs will fall on the third brother's shoulders. Lu Jiu was deeply impressed by Zhang Dongmei and said, "Eldest sister-in-law, you are so wonderful. I couldn't stand the smell at all, so my husband fed the piglets while I only cooked pig food. I felt that I was a burden to my husband." "Third sister-in-law, don't think too much. Everyone can see how much your husband cherishes you. I'm sure the third brother is happy to have you as his wife. It's better not to say such things to your husband, otherwise he might feel sad. If you want to help your husband, just make sure you have a hot meal ready when he comes back from work. A happy and warm family is the best thing we as wives can give our husbands." Zhang Dongmei patted Lu Jiu on the back and said, "It is also our responsibility as wives to give our husbands a home to return to," she added. Lu Jiu was surprised by Zhang Dongmei's words. She didn't expect that she would have such a mentality. In the original novel, there is not much information about Zhang Dongmei. At most, she only appears as a background character when there are celebrations or festivals in the Li family. Some readers even said that her personality was too plain and unsuitable to be Li Chen's wife, and asked the author to replace Li Chen's wife with another woman. "Okay, don't overthink it. We should finish our work and prepare lunch. Otherwise, we'll be late bringing lunch over." "Eldest sister-in-law, thank you," Lu Jiu said with a smile. After a brief conversation, Lu Jiu went to get a bucket and filled it with pig feed from her space when Zhang Dongmei went to the bathroom. Lu Jiu handed her the pig feed when she came out of the bathroom. She looked at the pig feed and was surprised to find that there was not only pig grass in it, but also grains, corn, beans, and other things she didn't recognize. While Zhang Dongmei went to feed the piglets, Lu Jiu continued to water the vegetable garden, while the children were pulling weeds. After plowing the soil, there were not many weeds, and after a while they were all pulled out. Seeing that they had completed their task, Lu Jiu said, "Zyroki and Zyroxu, thank you for your help. Go and wash your hands. There are still steamed buns in the kitchen, go and eat them." Hearing that they can eat steamed buns, Li Jiangsu said happily, "Thank you, third aunt." Half an hour later, Lu Jiu finally finished watering the vegetable garden and went to check the fish basket. With Zhang Dongmei's help, they pulled up the fish basket. The moment the fish basket was pulled up, they saw that the basket was almost full of fish. "Mother, there are so many fish." Li Jinqian clapped his hands and shouted happily. They were stunned by so many fish in the basket and thought there were many fish in the river. Seeing them looking at the fish basket with wide eyes, Lu Jiu just smiled. Although there are indeed many fish in the river, it is impossible for them to catch so many fish in such a short time. No one knew that the crayfish they used as bait were actually raised in Lu Jiu's space. When she walked to the river, she put the crayfish she caught from the river into her own space and took out some from her own space. Since the crayfish was held in her hand, no one noticed at all. Lu Jiu didn't know why, but fish were more attracted to the crayfish in her space than to the crayfish in the river. But whatever the reason, it's a good thing because it made it easier for her to catch fish. After they pulled out all the fish baskets, they poured the fish into the big basin. Since there were a lot of fish, Zhang Dongmei said, "Third sister-in-law, let's put the smaller ones back into the river." "All right," Lu Jiu nodded. Even though they put the little fish back into the river, the amount of fish still filled half of the basin. Zhang Dongmei saw so many fish in front of her and said, "Third sister-in-law, just give us 2 fish." Lu Jiu looked at her and asked, "Eldest sister-in-law, are 2 fish enough?" Judging by Li Chen's appetite, he can eat 1 fish by himself. While Lu Jiu was considering their appetites, Zhang Dongmei's worries were different. If they bring back too many fish, it will arouse suspicion and jealousy from others. If someone reports this to the brigade, the fish in the river will be claimed by the brigade and they will no longer be able to get the fish. She would rather eat less than cause trouble to Lu Jiu. If they find a large amount of food and fail to report it to the brigade, they will be punished if this becomes known to the brigade leader. This is why most people would rather not put in the effort to find more food from the mountains, lakes, or rivers. After all, if a lot of food is found, it will be claimed by the brigade. No one wants to work hard and receive no benefits. After a while, Zhang Dongmei asked, "Third sister-in-law, do you know that if you find a lot of food, you need to report it to the brigade?" Lu Jiu was stunned by her words and asked, "Are there any rules for this?" Zhang Dongmei nodded and said, "Yes, if you find food resources and report it to the brigade, the leader will reward you with some work points. But if you don't report them and are reported by others instead, you will be punished. So it is best not to bring too many fish back, lest it arouse people's suspicions." Lu Jiu was left speechless. She had no idea there was such a rule. All she knew was that they were forbidden from raising animals for sale, or anything that would bring them something precious, like pearls from oysters. She didn't know if this rule was made up by the author or if it actually happened in history. Regardless, this rule is bad news for her. She looked at the river with complicated eyes. Does she need to catch all the fish in the river and put them in her space? Zhang Dongmei thought she might be scared, so she said, "Third sister-in-law, don't worry. You live far away from the village. As long as it doesn't arouse other people's suspicions, no one will notice it and report this to the brigade." Lu Jiu could only nod and store the fish in a jar. With this jar, no one will know they brought fish back. After sending Zhang Dongmei away, she went to the river, caught all the fish, shrimps, crabs, and crayfish before she put them in the river in her own space. 2 hours later, Lu Jiu stood in the river, looking at the empty riverbed. Initially, she did not want to monopolize all food resources, but if it would bring her trouble, she didn't mind taking everything. After cleaning the river, she went to prepare lunch. Since she was having lunch outdoors, Lu Jiu did not prepare meals as usual. She couldn't let others see her eating meat or fish too often, so she made meat buns instead. Although her steamed buns are made of white flour, they are not as unusual as eating meat dishes. In addition to meat buns, she also prepared chicken soup. But instead of putting the soup in a bowl or jar, she stored it in a bamboo tube. Her husband could drink directly from the tube and no one knew what he was drinking. She also prepared a plate of pickled vegetables as a side dish and a kettle of warm water. When the meal was ready, she put the food in a 3-layer bamboo basket and walked to the fields after she locked the doors. Along the way, she met other villagers who were also delivering lunch to their families. Those who are close to her family will nod and say hello to her when they see her. Others either ignored her or said bad things behind her back. Lu Jiu returned the greetings and ignored those sour words. Not knowing where her husband was, she walked around the fields looking for him. After walking for 30 minutes, she did not find Li Chenmo but saw Han Yuluo Isentide. At this time, he was resting under a tree with several people. Lu Jiu couldn't help but raise her eyebrows when she saw that most of the women delivering lunch were unmarried girls. When sitting next to their family, their eyes kept falling on Han Yuluo as they shared food with him. With just one look, she understood what the girls were thinking. In her opinion, Han Yuluo was not a good man. He accepted every girl's intention equally. If he doesn't have any interest in the girl, he should firmly refuse. It is better for a girl to be rejected directly than to give her false hope. In modern times, men like Han Yuluo would be called Sea King and scumbag. Although he has no feelings for girls, he enjoys their affection and attention. He keeps hanging the girl without giving her a direct answer or proper status. With so many girls pursuing him, he felt his vanity was being satisfied. Just before she looked away, Han Yuluo raised his head, and the two looked at each other. In an instant, he stood up in panic as if his wife had caught him red-handed. Lu Jiu was speechless by his dramatic actions. She walked away, ignoring the looks everyone was giving her. Jiu, wait! Before he could finish his words, he saw that she had walked away without hesitation. The villagers looked at each other with understanding expressions. It seems that even after marrying Li Chenmo, Lu Jiu is still entangled with other men. Lu Jiu didn't know that because of Han Yuluo's one-man show, rumors that she was still in a relationship with him had spread. Some even said that she got jealous when she saw him with another girl, so she left angrily. When Lu Jiu finally found Li Chenmo, the sun had already risen above their heads. Everyone else had already finished their lunch, and she had just arrived, so people thought she was lazy. Lu Jiu didn't care what others thought of her. She waved her hand to her husband and said with a smile, "Husband, take a break and have lunch first." Seeing his wife coming, Li Chenmo showed a smile on his face. He nodded to her and pointed at the tree while wiping his sweat. Lu Jiu walked to the tree and took out a piece of cloth from the basket. She spread the cloth on the floor and took the food out of the basket. The villagers craned their necks to see what food she had brought. When they saw a basket of steamed buns and a plate of pickled vegetables, they lost interest and continued working. Although the steamed buns are made with white flour, it is not unusual. It seems that what their wife and daughter said about Li Chenmo's family eating meat every day is a rumor. Women do like to gossip and talk nonsense. After returning, they need to be warned not to spread rumors. If they are reported, it will be troublesome. When Li Chenmo walked over after washing his face, hands and feet, he saw that the food was ready. He sat next to his wife, wiped the sweat from her forehead, and asked, "Wife, have you been walking for a long time?" "Not long, I couldn't find you so I walked around for a while." Lu Jiu shook her head. "It's not long, just over an hour," she added in her heart. Lu Jiu handed over a bamboo tube to Li Chenmo and said, "Husband, have some soup." Li Chenmo was surprised by her words. He thought there was water in the bamboo tube. When he opened the lid, the aroma of chicken soup hit his nostrils. He took a sip and felt refreshed. After drinking the soup, he picked up a steamed bun and took a bite. The buns are soft and the meat filling is full of flavor. He finished the steamed bun in a few mouthfuls and took another one. He was eating steamed buns and pickled vegetables with relish. The pickled vegetables are crispy and have just the right amount of sourness. The sour taste of the pickled vegetables washed away the greasiness of the meat. Lu Jiu suddenly remembered the man he saw this morning and said, "Husband, the empty house near our home now has an owner." Li Chenmo raised his eyebrows and asked, "Wife, how do you know?" "This morning I saw a man coming with the team leader. They also moved the man's belongings into the house. It seems we have a new neighbor," Lu Jiu said. Li Chenmo nodded. Seeing that her husband was not interested in the new neighbor, Lu Jiu said, "Since we have become neighbors, should we visit him and find out about his situation? If he is already married, I can make friends with his wife." Li Chenmo thought for a while and said, "No need. As a new neighbor, he should be the one to visit others." Lu Jiu thought for a while and said, "Well, it doesn't matter who visits whom first. Husband, we'll go visit him later and see if there's anything we can do to help him." Li Chenmo glanced at his wife and nodded. He knew it wasn't a bad thing to get to know his neighbor's personality and situation. If their neighbors are good people, there's nothing wrong with making friends with them. If they are bad people, they will just keep their distance from them. This is better than knowing nothing about their neighbors. Lu Jiu was full after eating 2 steamed buns. She filled the thermos with warm water for her husband. Li Chenmo ate 6 steamed buns and drank the chicken soup before he was finally full. Seeing that he had finished eating, Lu Jiu put the remaining food into the bamboo basket and said, "Husband, I'm going back first." Be careful on the road," Li Chenmo said and patted her head. Everyone was stunned when they saw their interaction. They believed that, as a married couple, their relationship would be cold and distant. They will respect each other, but there will be no affection between them because Li Chenmo was trapped by Lu Jiu in this marriage. But when they see them, they can tell how much they cherish each other. Indeed, seeing is believing. They shouldn't believe those rumors. After Lu Jiu left, Li Chenmo continued to work. A villager who has a good relationship with Father Li said, Chenmo, you are blessed. Your wife cares about you very much. Li Chenmo looked at the villagers and smiled with satisfaction. Thank you, uncle. I am really lucky to be able to marry her. The villager raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, someone is in love. Youth is so great. Li Chenmo smiled and did not respond to his teasing. He is in a good mood, so he works faster because he wants to go home early. In the neighboring village, Ling Yun was stopped by Sheng Xiaohong as soon as he finished returning the ox cart. She looked at him with clear anger in her eyes. He didn't want to talk to her and walked around her, not even bothering to look at her. Seeing that he was blatantly ignoring her, Sheng Xiaohong grabbed his hand, but the moment she held his hand, Ling Yun threw her hand away in disgust. Due to his strength, she was pushed away and fell to the ground. The villagers were shocked when they saw this scene. Ling Yun is known as a polite and patient man. He never treats others, especially women, so roughly. There must be some hidden story between them. Ah! Sheng Xiaohong screamed as she fell to the ground. She sat on the ground and looked at Ling Yun in disbelief. Sister-in-law, please respect yourself. Don't corrupt public morals with your indecent behavior, Ling Yun said coldly. Everyone gasped after hearing his words. In just 2 sentences, he had already put the blame on Sheng Xiaohong. Corrupting public morals is a crime that could land her in jail for at least a few days or be paraded through the streets, ruining her reputation. What's more, he also called her sister-in-law, which showed that although her husband had passed away, she was a married woman. After hearing his words, Sheng Xiaohong felt her face burning. How could he treat her like this? How could he? She got up from the ground and clenched her fists tightly. She looked at the man she had loved for 12 years with reddened eyes. Tears fell from the corners of her eyes, and she gritted her teeth and asked, Ling Yun, what do you take me for? Are our memories meaningless to you? Are my feelings meaningless to you? Ling Yun looked at her coldly and said with obvious disgust in his voice, Sister-in-law, I have told you countless times, there is no us. There are also no memories between you and me. It's all your wishful thinking and imagination. What's more, what do your memories have to do with me? You're just my late friend's wife, that's all. You're not even my friend. So stop bothering me or I'll hand you over to the officer. Your behavior is truly disgusting to me, he added ruthlessly. Sheng Xiaohong clutched her chest, feeling a sharp pain in her heart. She couldn't believe it. Is everything really her imagination? He was so good to her. He clearly treated her differently than other women. How could he not have feelings for her? It's impossible. You must have said these things because that girl threatened you, she said, refusing to accept the reality. Ling Yun sneered, sending chills down to her spines. He looked at her and said word by word coldly, Who do you think you are? The most beautiful girl in the world. Just because you have a better-looking face than others, you think you are entitled to have everything. If I really have feelings for you, will I wait until you become a widow before marrying you? I am good-looking, hard-working, and have no parents. Whoever marries me will have enough to eat and the right to control the family's money. On top of that, there are no in-laws she needs to serve. With my qualifications, if I propose to an unmarried girl, which family will reject me? Why should I look for you, a widow with a 5-year-old daughter? He added. This time, Sheng Xiaohong didn't even have the strength to refute. Everything he said was true. For someone like him, finding a good woman to marry is easy. Why did he want her a broken shoe? She always thought that he was still not married at the age of 30 because of her. Turns out, she was wrong. Then why are you so nice to me? She asked tremblingly. The one I treat differently is Xiaohua because of my promise to her father. However, I have never treated you differently at all. Sister-in-law, aren't you too self-confident? Ling Yun raised his eyebrows and said lightly. Ling Yun glanced at the surrounding villagers and said in a clear and firm voice, Since everyone is here today, let me clarify the rumors. I, Ling Yun, have never had any relationship with Sheng Xiaohong, let alone have feelings for her. From now on, whoever dares to spread rumors and cause trouble, I will report them for defamation to the public security. He glanced at each villager and found that they all understood what he meant. He looked at Sheng Xiaohong and said, Sister-in-law, if you dare to disturb me or go to find Major again, don't blame me for not giving your late husband a face. After saying that, Ling Yun walked calmly towards the entrance of the village. He had warned her and given her one last chance. If she dared to disturb him or pan Major again, he would send her to prison. The evidence he had against her was enough to put her in jail for years. If it weren't for Xiaohua, he would have thrown her into prison a long time ago. Sheng Xiaohong stood motionless, looking at his back in shock. At this moment, her mind was filled with his harsh words, and she didn't notice the villagers talking and pointing at her. Didn't I say that Ling Yun couldn't possibly like broken shoes? At that time, you all believed the rumor and said that I was jealous. Now you have heard it yourself. He has nothing to do with this woman at all. a villager said with a sneer. Pay, who knows how many men she has entangled with. Such a shameless woman, why not just drive her out of our village? Another villager added while spitting. Grandma Huang, your words are too harsh. Although she did trouble Ling Yun, she has never been entangled with other men, a young man said with a frown. Ha, do you think I don't know what you are thinking? You are lusting after her body, that's why you protect her. Wipe off your saliva before speaking, Grandma Huang said without giving the young man any face. The young man was speechless due to anger and embarrassment, for his intentions were known to all. While the villagers were engaged in a heated discussion, Sheng Xiaohong couldn't hear anything. She returned to her home in a daze. When she walked into the front yard, she saw Xiaohua playing in the mud. Seeing her dirty look, anger rushed into her heart. She strode over and roughly pulled Xiaohua up. Xiaohua was startled when she was suddenly pulled hard. When she looked up, she was petrified when she saw her mother's terrifying expression. Although she is still a child, she clearly knows who likes her and who hates her. Her mother is the person who hates her the most. Whenever her mother looked at her, the hatred, anger, disgust, and disdain in her eyes were clearly visible. Xiaohua felt the pain in her arm and said tremblingly, "Mother, it hurts. Can you please let me go?" Hearing her plea, Sheng Xiaohong became even more angry. She raised her hand, slapped her hard, and shouted, "It's all your fault. It's because of you and your dead father that Ling Yun hates me. Bitch, you should die with your father." Slap, slap, slap. Xiaohua felt her cheeks burning when her mother's palm fell on her face again and again. After several slaps, her pale face became red and swollen. The corner of her lip was torn and blood dripped down. The slap made her dizzy and her ears buzzed. "Mother, I'm sorry, Xiaohua is wrong. Please don't hit Xiaohua again." Xiaohua begged, but she didn't dare to resist the beating, because the more she resisted, the harder the beating became. Sheng Xiaohong vented her anger for a while, threw Xiaohua to the ground like a rag doll, and said, "You'd better not let me see you again. Otherwise, I will beat you every time I see you. Get lost." After she finished speaking, Sheng Xiaohong entered the house and closed the door with a bang. Xiaohua lay on the ground crying. She didn't know what she had done wrong for her mother to beat her like this. She clearly listens to her mother's every word, eats less, and takes care of all the housework. But why does her mother still hate her so much? After lying on the ground for a long time, Xiaohua finally got some strength and pushed herself up from the ground. Her ears were still buzzing and her eyes were blurry. Tears and snot stained her swollen, bruised face as she walked out the door. At this moment, she wished she could go with her father. She doesn't want to be with her mother anymore. "Woo-woo-woo, father, where are you?" Xiaohua is scared, she sobbed as she walked. When the villagers saw her swollen and purple face and knew that she had been beaten again, they all felt sorry for Xiaohua. But no one has the extra food and energy to take care of other people's children. So they just shook their heads and sighed, but said or did nothing. They didn't even dare to ask about her situation, for fear that she would refuse to leave after they helped her. The children were so frightened that they screamed when they saw Xiaohua. They pointed at her and shouted, "Monster, there is a monster." Xiaohua was stunned by their words. When she realized that they were talking about her, grievance, fear, and sadness burst out from the bottom of her heart, and she burst into tears. "Wah, Xiaohua is not a monster." Her words were slurred due to the injuries on her face. The children heard her screams and muffled words, and ran and shouted, "Monster, Xiaohua is a monster." Han Yuluo heard the shout and came over. The moment he saw Xiaohua, his eyes widened in shock. He quickly walked over, held her shoulders, and asked, "Xiaohua, what happened? Tell uncle who hit you." Xiaohua opened her red and swollen eyes, and found that it was her father's paternal cousin. She threw herself into Han Yuluo's arms and cried, "Wah, Uncle Yuluo, Xiaohua doesn't want mother anymore. Xiaohua doesn't want to go back. Xiaohua wants my father." Hearing her words, Han Yuluo's eyes darkened. He hugged her, patted her back, and asked, "Is it your mother who hit you?" Xiaohua nodded and buried her face in his chest. Han Yuluo was angry and distressed at the same time. His cousin died early, leaving only a daughter. As the only child of her father, Xiaohua should be taken care of by her paternal family. However, because she was a girl and not a boy, she was rejected by her paternal grandparents. What's more, the moment her father died, her grandparents decided to separate them from the family. Therefore, she can only live with her mother. As a woman, Sheng Xiaohong does not earn many work points, so it was really hard for her to raise her children alone. That's why, since the death of his cousin, Han Yuluo has sent some money to Sheng Xiaohong every month. Therefore, he always thought that his niece could still have enough food, even if she didn't have a full belly. He didn't expect Sheng Xiaohong to be so cruel to his daughter. Xiaohua, uncle will take you back, he said. No, Xiaohua doesn't want to go back. Mother said she would hit Xiaohua every time she saw Xiaohua. Seeing her scared look, Han Yuluo could only take her back to his home. He hugged her and returned to Xi village in anger. If he hadn't wanted to visit Xiaohua before returning to the county town, he might not have known that his niece was beaten so badly by her own mother. Along the way, Xiaohua already stopped crying, but she still refused to let go of Han Yuluo, so Han Yuluo could only hug her. The villagers were shocked to see him return with a child, especially the unmarried girls who liked him. They watched in disbelief as he gently patted the little girl's back. Who is that little girl? When Han Yuluo arrived at Han Yuheng's house, he knocked on his brother's bedroom door. Not long after, the door was opened by his niece. Seeing the little girl in his arms, she asked, "Uncle, who is that?" Han Yuluo knelt down, looked at his niece and said, "Liling, this is your cousin. His father and your father are paternal cousins." Hearing his words, she tilted her head as she looked at Xiaohua and said, "Hello, little cousin. I am your cousin Han Liling. What is your name?" Xiaohua peeked at her and said in a muffled voice, "My name is Han Lishua. Li as in beautiful and Hua as in flower. My father said that when I was born, I was as beautiful as a spring flower." "You are so smart, you even know what the meaning of your name is," Han Liling said in surprise. Han Yuluo likes Xiaohua because she is smart and polite, but this is natural because her father is an educated youth. Although he only studied for a few years, he studied in the capital city. He is the smartest one in the family. "Liling, where is your father?" Han Yuluo asked. "My father hasn't come back yet, but my mother is inside." Han Yuluo nodded and entered the room. He leaves the door open and takes the kids with him, so it won't arouse people's suspicions. "Sister-in-law," he greeted Han Yuheng's wife. Seeing him coming with a child, Bai Lian frowned and said, "Second brother, who is that child?" Han Yuluo sat down on the chair next to the Kang bed and said, "Sister-in-law, this is Han Lihua. Xiaohua, say hello to auntie." Xiaohua finally raised her head and whispered, "Hello, auntie." Bai Lian was stunned when she saw her face. She looked at her swollen face with wide eyes and asked, "Second brother, what's going on? Who is so cruel that he beats a child like this?" "It's her mother." "Heavens, how can a mother have the heart to beat her child like this?" Bai Lian whispered. Han Yuluo sighed and said, "Sister-in-law, her father is my paternal second uncle's son. He passed away a few years ago, leaving only one daughter." After hearing what he said, Bai Lian asked, "Since her father passed away, shouldn't she live with her paternal family?" "As soon as my cousin passed away, my uncle's wife separated the family. Now she lives with her mother, but her mother..." Han Yuluo sighed again. "Second brother, you didn't mean to raise her, did you? Although we live a more comfortable life than others, we can't afford to raise other people's children. She still has a mother, so she should live with her." Bai Lian frowned and said, "Sister-in-law, her mother has already beaten her until she became like this. How can we let her continue to live with her mother?" "Then what do you want to do? Even if you raise her, she is someone else's child after all. You are just wasting your money, time, and energy raising someone else's child," she said angrily. "But we can't pretend we don't know anything. She is still my niece, my brother's daughter," Han Yuluo said helplessly. "No, I won't agree. It's hard enough for me to raise my own children. I won't bother to raise other people's children," Bai Lian said firmly. "Sister-in-law." Before he could persuade her, she interrupted him. "Second brother, if you want to raise her, you can raise her by yourself. Even if you give me money, I won't agree." Seeing his sister-in-law's resolute attitude, Han Yuluo sighed and said, "I understand, then I won't bother you any longer." After saying this, he took Xiaohua and left the room. Feeling her gripping her clothes tighter, Han Yuluo patted her back and said, "Xiaohua, don't be afraid. Uncle will protect you." "Uncle, why does everyone hate me?" Xiaohua asked softly. "No one hates Xiaohua. Your father, your great-uncle's your uncle. We all love you," Han Yuluo said heartbrokenly. Xiaohua said nothing, but she knew that many people hated her because she had no father. If only her father was still alive. Han Yuluo didn't know what Xiaohua was thinking and thought she was still sad. He took her to Dr. Zai to treat her wounds. When Dr. Zai saw her swollen face, he said nothing and only applied ointment to her. He felt her pulse and observed her ears and eyes. After a long time, he looked at Han Yuluo and said solemnly, "You'd better take her to the hospital as soon as possible. Her left ear is injured." If the treatment is delayed, she might have hearing problems in the future. Hearing his words, Han Yuluo was shocked. His face turned pale as he glanced at Xiaohua. She is a smart child. If she is hearing impaired, her future will be ruined. Thank you, Dr. Zai, I'll take her to the hospital. After saying that, he paid the fee and left. After using the ointment, the swelling on Xiaohua's face was reduced, but the redness turned into deep purple. He quickly returned to Han Yuheng's house and packed his luggage. After saying that, he went to find Bai Lian. Sister-in-law, I'm going back to the county town. Please help me inform my brother. All right, have a safe journey, Bai Lian said. She was used to her brother-in-law coming and leaving whenever he wanted, so she didn't find anything weird this time. Only Han Liling knew that when her second uncle left, he took Han Lixue with him. But since the matter had nothing to do with her or her family, she didn't bother telling anyone. In this way, Han Lixue was taken away by Han Yuluo. Everyone thought she disappeared after being beaten by her mother, and Sheng Xiaohong's reputation hit rock bottom. She was considered a vicious woman who beat her own daughter and drove her away. When the sky began to darken, the villagers finally completed the water canal work. After placing the last stone on the canal wall, Li Chenmo let out a sigh. He straightened his back and looked at the sunset. Everyone, thank you for your hard work. We will start spring plowing at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. If you need tools, you can borrow them from the office. If you have your own, just come to the fields. Okay, everyone, you can go back home now, Han Yuheng said with a smile. After a day's work, the villagers were too tired to chat. After Han Yuheng finished speaking, they dispersed and returned to their homes. After washing his face, hands and feet with river water, Li Chenmo walked back home carrying the bamboo basket. Unlike other people whose house was in the village, his house was outside the village, so he needed to walk further. When he neared home, it was already dark, but the moon had not yet risen high enough to light the way. Li Chenmo walked slowly while focusing on the road because he couldn't see the road clearly. Suddenly, the road brightened and he looked up. Due to the light coming from the flashlight, he couldn't clearly see the person walking towards him. Husband, I'm here to pick you up. It's already dark, and it's dangerous to walk without light. Li Chenmo smiled when he heard his wife's voice. He reached out to hold her hand and asked, why did you come out? Although it is early spring, the weather is still very cold at night. Lu Jiu intertwined their fingers and said, I'm worried about you. They returned to their home hand in hand. Since it was dark, no one noticed that their fingers were intertwined. Husband, what do you want for breakfast tomorrow? Lu Jiu asked suddenly. Li Chenmo listened to her words, chuckled, and asked, Wife, we haven't had dinner yet. Why are you asking about tomorrow's meal? Shouldn't you ask me what I want to eat for dinner? I have prepared dinner, so there is no point asking you. So what do you want to have for breakfast? She asked again. I'm fine with anything. Is it okay to have rice for breakfast? Lu Jiu asked. MHMM. All right then, what time do you go out tomorrow? We start working at 5 o'clock, so I have to set off at 4:30, Li Chenmo said. So early? She asked with a hint of surprise. Hearing her surprise, Li Chenmo felt strange and asked, Isn't your family also like this every year? We need to start as early as possible so that we can get more work done. After all, we need to take a break for more than 1 hour at noon. Otherwise, we may get heat stroke. My sister-in-law used to cook, and I only woke up at dawn. Lu Jiu said a little embarrassed. The original soul has indeed never woken up so early. Li Chenmo recalled that his wife had indeed never participated in field work. At most, she could only go to the mountain foothill to collect pigweed. As they talked, they arrived home. Before entering the front yard, Li Chenmo took a look at the house below the hill and saw a man repairing the roof. He only glanced at the man before entering the house. While Lu Jiu went to prepare their dinner, Li Chenmo went to the pig pen to clean up the pig manure. Since it had already been cleaned once in the morning, it didn't take long for him to clean the pigsty. After returning from the pigsty, he took a shower first and then went to the bedroom. After eating, Lu Jiu went to wash the dishes and prepared a footbath for Li Chenmo. When Li Chenmo saw his wife coming back with a basin of water, Li Chenmo said, Wife, my legs are healed. You don't need to give me a footbath anymore. Lu Jiu put the basin at his feet and said, Although your legs have healed, you have been standing for a long time since you got up in the morning to work. Let me give you a massage so that you can sleep better. Li Chenmo wanted to refuse at first because he didn't want her to be too tired, but seeing his wife looking at him with raised eyebrows, he finally rolled up his trousers and put his feet into the basin. As soon as his feet touched the water, he felt a tingling sensation spread from the soles of his feet to his thighs. He looked at the water in the basin and asked, "Wife, what medicine did you use?" "I use Himalayan salt, mint, and mugwort. It can relieve pain and fatigue, increase blood circulation, and reduce insomnia," Lu Jiu said as she began to massage him. While Lu Jiu was pressing the acupuncture points, Li Chenmo sighed softly. Lu Jiu was concentrating on massaging his legs and did not notice that her husband's face turned red and his eyes darkened. At this moment, Li Chenmo felt that the blood in his body was boiling. Everywhere his wife touched left a burning and stinging sensation. It felt good, but it also made him uneasy. Feeling that a certain part of his body was responding to his wife's touch, he quickly sang a military song repeatedly in his mind, trying to distract himself. 30 minutes later, Lu Jiu finally finished the massage and said, "Husband, soak your feet for another 10 minutes. I locked the door first." After she left the room, Li Chenmo looked down at his body and let out a long sigh. It seemed that his body was reaching its limit, but he would have to endure it for at least another year before he could finally consummate the marriage. His wife is not yet 18 years old. Lu Jiu threw away the foot-washing water, locked the door, and went to bed. Early the next morning, Lu Jiu woke up before dawn. When she opened her eyes, she found that her husband was still sleeping. So she slowly removed Li Chenmo's hands from her waist, gave him a kiss, and then went to wash up and prepare breakfast. After lighting the fire, she moved some firewood into the brazier. While she boiled a pot of water on the stove, she cracked the eggs into a bowl, added the chopped sausage, vegetables and seasonings and beat them well. She used a small pan to make the omelette. After the water boiled, she filled the thermos with hot water and poured the remaining hot water into the drinking water vat. When the water cools, it can be used as drinking water. After the omelette was ready, she steamed some rice with pandan leaf in a brazier. While she was steaming the rice, she poured some oil into the pot and stir-fried some cooked noodles, vegetables and minced meat. After she seasoned the dish, she placed it on a plate and wrapped it in an omelette. In addition to the omelette, she also made a bowl of fish soup. After the rice was cooked, she set it aside to cool. Then she heated the soy milk in a brazier. At the same time, she took out 2 cans of tuna, a pack of roasted nori, a bottle of mayonnaise, and a bottle of hot sauce from her space. She poured the tuna into a bowl, added mayonnaise and hot sauce, and stirred evenly. Before the rice had completely cooled down, she added some rice vinegar, sugar, and salt and stirred it evenly. Afterwards, she washed her hands and scooped some water from a bowl. She wet her hands with water, scooped some rice, put the tuna mayo into the rice, then scooped more rice and shaped it into a triangle with her hands. Then she wraps it in roasted nori. She worked very quickly and made 8 rice balls in less than 10 minutes. She placed the rice balls on the plate and took out the soy milk from the brazier. After breakfast was ready, she heard a noise coming from the bathroom. She brought breakfast to the kang bed in a bamboo basket. Not long after, Li Chenmo entered the bedroom and saw his wife setting food on the small table. He looked at the triangular piece of rice and asked, "Wife, what is this?" "These are rice balls. I put some filling inside. See if you like it," Lu Jiu said with a smile. Li Chenmo sat next to her, drinking soy milk. After that, he picked a rice ball and took a bite. His eyes lit up when he tasted the umami flavor of roasted seaweed, fragrant rice, and delicious fillings. Seeing that he liked eating the rice balls, Lu Jiu felt relieved. She handed him a bowl of fish soup and said, "Husband, have some soup." Li Chenmo nodded and drank the soup. After finishing the second portion of the rice ball, he took the egg roll and ate it with relish. When they had finished their breakfast, the rooster crowed. Lu Jiu looked at the sky. It was probably almost 4 o'clock in the morning. "I'm going to clean up the pig pen first and feed the pigs before going out," Li Chenmo said after he finished the soy milk. "All right." He helped his wife clear the table and move the tableware to the backyard, while Lu Jiu filled a bucket with the pig feed she had prepared before. When Li Chenmo was going to the pig pen, Lu Jiu washed the dishes and added the chicken feed and water after she picked the eggs. Afterwards, she watered the peach tree and plot of land for the vegetable garden. Since there is no need to germinate the seeds, she can start sowing vegetable seeds as long as the temperature warms up. When the sun rose from the horizon, Li Chenmo returned from the pig pen. After he cleaned himself up, he took out a hoe from the woodshed and prepared to set off. Lu Jiu went to the kitchen to get a thermos and wrapped some oats and berry biscuits in oil paper for him. She also took a towel and a straw hat from their room. "Husband, put on the hat and bring a towel. I've prepared some biscuits for you. You can eat them when you're hungry. I'll bring you lunch later," Lu Jiu said as she handed the items over. Li Chenmo took what his wife had prepared for him, leaned over, kissed her lips and said, "Don't tire yourself. I was assigned to work in the north area. Okay, husband, we can earn a lot of work points by raising pigs. Therefore, there is no need to overexert yourself in order to get 10 work points. Remember to rest when you are tired, Lu Jiyu said. I know, I have to go now. Okay. After kissing his wife again, Li Chenmo left home in a good mood. As he walked past the house beside the hill, he saw a man coming out. He is tall and dark-skinned. His expression is indifferent and calm, but his aura is very strong. Li Chenmo raised his eyebrows when he saw the man. If the villagers faced him, they might be overwhelmed by his aura, but in Li Chenmo's view, he just looked a little stronger than the others. After all, he is a soldier and has experienced countless life-and-death battles. Sensing that someone was looking at him, Ling Yun raised his head and met Li Chenmo's eyes. He was startled when he saw the familiar face in front of him. He didn't expect to see someone who looked 6 to 7 points like himself. When Li Chenmo saw Ling Yun's face, he was also stunned. He rarely uses mirrors, so at this moment he feels that this man is 4 points similar to his eldest brother, Li Chen's. Because of the familiar feeling, both of them had a good first impression of each other. Hello, comrade, Ling Yun greeted Li Chenmo first. Hello, are you the new owner of this house? Li Chenmo asked. Yeah, I just moved in yesterday and haven't had time to visit the neighbors yet. Ling Yun nodded and walked towards Li Chenmo. The two were walking side by side and looked so similar, especially their tall figure, handsome features and sharp eyes. The only difference may be their skin color. Li Chenmo's complexion is fairer and he looks several years younger. My wife and I live in a house on the hill. My name is Li Chenmo. You can call me Ling Yun. I live alone in that house. Li Chenmo nodded. Both of them are men who treat their words like gold, so after a brief conversation, both of them fell silent. Arriving in the village office, Ling Yun said, I need to report to the team leader first. Let's have a drink together next time. All right. Ling Yun went to Han Yuheng to ask about where he was assigned to, while Li Chenmo continued walking north. The production team has 5 pieces of cultivated land, distributed in the north, east, west, south, and center of the village. Each year, farmland is divided according to the number of people in the production team. Each household is assigned to one of 5 farmland plots. When they complete their work, they receive work points based on the amount of work completed every day. As for those who do not work in the fields, they can earn work points by collecting pigweed and handing it over to the production team. At least one person from each household needs to participate in field work. As long as one family member is working in the field, other family members are free to participate or not. However, if they don't work, they don't get any work points. So under normal circumstances, everyone will join the field work to earn more work points. After all, more work points means more food. At this moment, only Lu Jiyu and some women who had just given birth were left at home. But unlike her, other women still need to cook and do housework. After her husband left for work, Lu Jiyu walked up the mountain carrying a bamboo basket and a small hoe. It had been a while since she last went to the mountains. She wanted to try her luck and find some good medicinal materials. Based on the author's illogical world setting, she might be able to find precious medicinal herbs. Maybe she can even find Lingjai. In this era where medical knowledge and technology are not as advanced as in future generations, she needs to get more medicines in case she needs them. With this thought, she walked towards the mountain foothills. As soon as she arrived at the mountain foothills, she saw many dryad saddle mushrooms. There were many dead trees in the mountain foothills, and the mushrooms were thriving. She quickly walked over and started picking mushrooms. When the bamboo basket was full, she moved the mushrooms to her own space and continued picking mushrooms. She harvested only young mushrooms because mature mushrooms could be infested with maggots and become hard and rubbery. 30 minutes later, she finally harvested all the young mushrooms. Then she continued walking into the forest. Not long after, she saw clusters of chicken of the woods mushrooms. This mushroom is found in the eastern United States, with some found on the west coast of North America and Europe. Lu Jiyu was speechless when she discovered this mushroom growing in the rainforest. It should grow in hardwood forests or the Rocky Mountains. Author, you really need to do some research. You can't just throw everything into the mountains or the forest, she said to herself. Although she was speechless about the unreasonable things in this world, Lu Jiyu was still happy to find this mushroom. It tastes similar to chicken and is delicious when cooked. As before, after she gathered the mushrooms, she placed them in her own space. She walked around the forest and found many fruit trees, mushrooms, medicinal herbs, staple foods, and even small animals, all of which she put into her own space. After exploring the mountains for 5 hours, she discovered a mountain river and decided to take a break. Sitting on the boulder by the river, Lu Jiu took out a bottle of orange juice from her own space and drank several sips in one breath. She lightly beat her legs and complained, "This body is too weak. I have only been climbing for a few hours and I already feel sore all over my body." While resting, she looked around and her eyes stopped at the roots of an old tree, where there were several huge mushroom caps. She blinked a few times and realized she wasn't hallucinating. She walked quickly over to examine the mushrooms. When viewed up close, the mushroom is reddish-brown and shaped like a kidney. She touched the mushroom lightly and felt the soft texture. The stem is 95 cm long, and the cap is about 1.2 m in diameter. "I hit the jackpot," Lu Jiu said in disbelief. She didn't expect that she would find such a big Ganoderma lucidum. Judging from its size, it may be over 1,000 years old. She took a hoe and began to dig carefully. It took her nearly 15 minutes to dig out the Ganoderma lucidum. After that, she quickly put it into her own space. Just when she thought she was lucky to find one Ganoderma lucidum, she saw more Ganoderma lucidum behind the old tree. With a happy exclamation, she quickly harvested all the Ganoderma lucidum. Her forehead and back were covered with sweat, but she was content. After she placed the last Ganoderma lucidum into her space, she decided to return to her home. It's almost time to prepare lunch for her husband. As Lu Jiu walked home, she picked up a basket of pigweed. The children were surprised to see her return with a basket of pigweed. A child came up and asked, "Sister, where did you find so much pigweed?" "I found it near the mountain. There is a lot of pigweed there," Lu Jiu said, pointing in the direction of the mountain. After listening to her words, the children gasped and said, "Sister, you can't go to the mountain. My parents said we are not allowed to go up the mountain." "Why?" Lu Jiu asked. "The team leader said there are wild boars and it's dangerous for us to go there," said an older child. After a while, Lu Jiu said, "I don't know about this. If that's the case, then we shouldn't go into the mountains again." The children looked at her basket and said enviously, "Sister, with so much pigweed, you can earn at least 5 work points." "I have no intention of giving it to the team. My family raises pigs, so I will use it to feed my pigs," Lu Jiu said with a smile. After a brief conversation, Lu Jiu returned to her home. She went to her space, placed the pigweeds to the warehouse for later use, and went to check out the store. Seeing a lot of new seeds in the store, Lu Jiu bought them and planted them. She plants a lot of medicinal herbs, especially Ganoderma lucidum and wild ginseng in larger fields because they take longer to mature. After planting the seeds, she went to prepare lunch. Like yesterday, she made steamed buns stuffed with meat fillings. She also prepared bone broth and a plate of stir-fry vegetables. In addition to lunch, she also prepared some banana cake for her husband as a snack. After leaving the space, she packed her lunch and snacks into a 3-layered bamboo basket, took a kettle of water, locked the house, and went to deliver lunch. When she walked to the north area, Lu Jiu saw Pan Magia plowing the farmland near the village hall. She looked around and found that most of the people assigned to the central area were educated youth. She walked over and found that Pan Magia's clothes were soaked with sweat. "Magia," Lu Jiu called her from the side of the road. When she heard someone calling her name, Pan Magia stopped what she was doing and turned around. When she saw that the person calling her was Lu Jiu, a smile appeared on her face. She walked over and asked, "Jiu, are you delivering lunch to your husband?" "Yes, do you want some water?" Lu Jiu asked. "Yes, I have finished drinking my water." Pan Magia did not refuse and said with a sigh. Lu Jiu put down the 3-layered bamboo basket and took out a cup. She handed the cup to Pan Magia and poured her a glass of water. The water in the kettle comes from her space. Drinking it could restore energy and reduce fatigue. Pan Magia drank a few gulps of water and breathed a sigh of relief. She wiped the water from her lips and said, "Thank you for the water, Jiu. I finally feel alive." "No problem, give me your thermos and I'll fill it up for you," Lu Jiu said. "If you give me the water, will it be enough for your husband?" Pan Magia asked. "I can get him more water later. I don't have much to do at home, so I can come again later." "In that case, I won't be polite to you. Thank you, Jiu." Pan Magia went to get the thermos bottle and handed it to Lu Jiu. After filling the thermos, Lu Jiu handed 2 steamed buns to Pan Magia and said, "I made more. This is for you." Pan Magia held the steamed bun and said gratefully, "Jiu, you are the best. If I were a man, I would definitely marry you." "What nonsense are you talking about? If my husband hears this, he might be jealous again." Lu Jiu was amused by her words and let out a laugh. Never mind then, your husband is too scary, he can even get jealous toward a woman. Yesterday my parents gave me some dried fruits, I will send some to you later. Pan Magia recalled the package she received yesterday. Okay, I'm leaving now, see you later. Lu Jiu nodded and left. Not long after Lu Jiu left, Ling Yun raised his head and saw that the sun was already above their heads. He walked up to Pan Magia and said, Comrade Pan, can you give me some water? I have finished mine. Pan Magia looked at the man in front of her and said, Okay, give me your cup. Ling Yun went to get his bamboo water bottle and handed it to her. When Pan Magia saw that the water bottle was made of bamboo, she said, Wow, this water bottle is so beautiful. Where did you buy it? I made it myself. If you like it, I will make one for you. This water bottle can only be used for 18 months at most and needs to be replaced. Ling Yun said. Can it last so long? Then can you please make one for me? I'll pay you for the materials. Pan Magia looked at the water bottle and said. Ling Yun nodded after listening to her words, but he didn't intend to ask for her money. It was just a small thing, and it won't take long for him to make a bottle. He owed her much more than that. After pouring half of the water into Ling Yun's bottle, Pan Magia asked, Did you bring lunch? I had some pancakes this morning. Hearing his words, Pan Magia was stunned for a moment. It is not uncommon for villagers to eat 2 meals a day, but that is when they are not working. Now they have to work in the fields all day and need 3 meals a day. Otherwise, they may become sick because their bodies cannot handle the workload. Hello.